Welcome everyone to another episode of Tobacco Road Weekly. So we're glad you're along for the ride this week, right here with our co-host Stevie Fly. Stevie, how's it going tonight?
Doing good, bud. How are you?
Doing good. Excited about that new internet you got there in Alaska?
Heck yeah, dude. It's nice. It's nice to be able to talk to you on here and not have to wait like 5 seconds for you to get a response.
It is. It is. We are really getting in modern times now and trying to take this up a notch. So hey, welcome everyone. We've had a little gap with the show. It's been a couple weeks, but we are back. You know, a lot has happened in the ACC over the last 2 weeks, and things have flip-flopped. It's crazy. It's hectic. You know, what's up is down, and what's down is up. So you know, a lot has from our previous show changed on what our predictions were and the power rankings and where people stood. So I thought tonight we'd kick it off really quick and just do a quick walkthrough of where people stand now, where are the teams throughout the conference. And starting from the bottom, you know, remaining in the bottom is Boston College. So that's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Boston College is still sitting on the bottom. You know, they Georgia Tech is giving them a run for the money. Georgia Tech is not having a great season. And, you know, if Boston College could come up with a, you know, knock Georgia Tech off in a game, then, you know, maybe see Georgia Tech going on the bottom. But right now, Boston College is sitting pretty firmly on the bottom. Georgia Tech has had a kind of real rough time out of the gate. So, again, they were loaded with talent last year. And this year, you can't get it going. And, I mean, it's understandable with what they lost, but they still have some real talent. You know, so, you know, again, is it Pastner? Is it the coaching? Is it the players? What's happening? Is it just because it's a nutty year in the ACC? Don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not turning around.
I think it's more the roster, man. They got to get used to each other. Like you said, they lost a lot. And you know, it's time to reload, I guess, for Georgia Tech or rebuild. But they've got to get used to it. They've got to get chemistry too. And I just think they're having a hard time finding that chemistry right now.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, and I think a lot of teams are maybe struggling with that. We've seen a lot of transition, you know, again, the portal, and I mean, everybody going and moving across different conferences, but everybody's going through that. So who can get it quicker? And that does get, you know, attributed to the coach. Can the coach kind of get that to gel? That's up to the coach to get it to gel. So, you know, a team that won the conference last year, conference championship, ACC tournament is, you know, it's now kind of looking at the bottom. It's kind of what kind of year we're looking at. Pittsburgh, and they're moving a little bit. So Pittsburgh, we're kind of right sitting there on that bottom floor. But Pittsburgh, they got to win in conference, so that was pretty exciting for them. And they're competing. I mean, they're in a lot of games. You know, again, we talked about they really struggle. But, you know, you see them competing more. You know, you see some potential. Again, I think that coaching seat's pretty hot, and it's probably going to continue to be.
Yeah, very hot.
It's going to be hard to turn that ship around. It really is. It's going to take more than 1 or 2 wins in the ACC to do it. So
you think Capel will end up being an assistant coach to Shire next year?
I think that's highly likely. I mean, I can see that happening pretty quickly. You know, I don't see him.
Unless things get different in Pitt, he's not going to be in Pitt for too much longer.
No, I don't think so. And I hate that. We've talked about it before. You know, he's a good coach. Well, maybe that's remains to be seen. But seems to be a good guy, and you know, we want him to do well, but it's just not clicking, whatever reason it may be for Pittsburgh. Syracuse, you know, is kind of going towards the bottom again. And, you know, Syracuse is a little all over the map. You know, obviously expectations for Syracuse are very high. You know, you got the Boeheim brothers out there who are playing well. I mean, you know, they really are. But it just doesn't seem to be a lot going on outside of that with that team. So inconsistent, getting some wins, but, you know, right now where they stand 8-8, I think, 2-3. In conference, and that's not great for Syracuse.
But you know what? Weren't they kind of in the same situation last year?
They seem to, you know, Stevie is funny with Syracuse. They seem to be in a situation in the beginning of the season almost every year. And then you get towards the end, they peak. And gosh, how many seasons ago when they made a run in the tournament? It wasn't that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
They made a run last year.
That's a good point. They did. They made a good push last year.
They made a run last year. Considering how they started last year, I if I'm a Syracuse fan, yeah, I'm disappointed on the start. You wish they would start out good, but
you're still 2-3 in ACC. You're right in the hunt.
You got to realize what you did last year. You didn't have a great record last year. You made it, what was it, Elite Eight? It was Elite Eight. They went deep in the tournament last year.
Yeah. And it's a similar situation. I remember kind of in the beginning, they weren't crushing it in the beginning and seemed to really turn it around. So they're a late bloomer. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm not
somebody like a Pitt or somebody like that. Yeah, I would probably be like, okay, this is going to be another year. But with Syracuse, I'm a little concerned, but I wouldn't be like the season's over.
No, absolutely.
I wouldn't say that yet.
Hey, at the very least, Boeheim's sitting there, with his boys playing ball. It can't be all bad, right? That's got to be pretty awesome.
No, so, I'm sure he's loving it no matter what.
He's loving it. So we'll see how that goes for them. And I agree with you. It's a long ways to go. It's too early to tell. So I wouldn't be surprised if they finish up in that upper tier. Now, one big surprise, and I think this team's absolutely going to turn around. That's Virginia Tech. It's sitting at 11 on the power ranking, and the talent's there. I think they've got a good coach. It's just they're close. They're right there. Lose by 2 points, Virginia last night at Virginia, which that's not a bad loss by any means. Playing at Virginia, losing by 2. Listen, Virginia, I know they got crushed by Carolina, but I know rubbing it in.
Chris.
But with that said, we've got an opportunity. Yeah, Chris is really going to enjoy that. They turn around, they win. It's a good win on the for them at home for Virginia. Virginia Tech loses by 2. In the day, they're digging a pretty big hole. You can't get ranked any higher than that if you haven't won a conference game. So they did lose to State at home, so that's not good either. Are they going to turn it around? If they're going to, they better get moving.
Hold on. I'm looking for the text I got the other day from Chris in our group text. Here we go. Well, this was Chris. How you say his name, Billy?
Andreessen.
Chris Andreessen text, UVA fan, Saturday at 4:07 p.m. Well, UVA did it. We made Baycott look like Wilt Chamberlain.
And that's hard to do. But he played out of his mind. He really did. I mean, I give him full credit on that one. Played out of his mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people have to work on the weekend, so we didn't get to see it.
Didn't get to see it.
I've got it DVR'd. I do have to go back and watch it, but with the internet and everything, we've kind of been streaming everything, so we haven't had a chance to check out my DVR list.
Well, I would definitely go check that out. I mean, it sounds like a game you want to watch and rewatch. But you play that game again, you might have a different scenario. But you got to give Virginia credit. They rebounded and against Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech's got to turn around. They had one of the premier players in the conference. It's time to turn it around. So not going to be a surprise to see them peak and start making a move. Right now, they're sitting towards the bottom. And right after that, you got North Carolina State. Now, I can talk a lot about State. I can talk an hour about State. It's it's a team that's taken Keats has taken a thorough shellacking on some of the decisions he's been making on the coaching end. What's going on? Why can't we win the close games? I got to agree. I'm a big Keats fan, but I have some questions on not making some modifications. Last night they played Louisville at Louisville, and he did. He saw a lot of changes. They play a stagnant game against Clemson. They just didn't show up. Jaquavion Smith goes 0 for 7. Helms couldn't hit anything, which wasn't a shocker, but Not a productive performance. You know, you had Sebron who got his points, and then they just got completely dominated inside by Clemson. So Keats came out with a 2-3 zone. And everybody's been begging them to play zone. And Keats has been kind of stubborn about it. So he came out with zone, and I thought it was pretty effective. Now, he jumped out of it pretty quick. I think it was Moore hit a couple shots for Louisville, and I think he hit the panic button a little too quick. I mean, the team's going to hit a couple threes on you. You know, when you're playing that, you just don't want to get dominated down low. Until they hit 3 or 4 of them, I would have probably stayed firm. But it did show some changes. The difference with State was putting the ball in the basket. So, and they were Quavion Smith played out of his mind. This guy's a freshman from Greenville. Shout out to Greenville. And, you know, really kind of really undervalued. Nobody really went after him. Keats did. All credit to Keats on that one. I mean, they were going after him very early. So, and what you saw happen after going after him, really, really getting him in there and getting him involved makes all the difference in the world. He could miss. Representing with ECU right there. So, so with him hitting, and what was the biggest surprise is Helms. Helms started the game 3 for 3 from the 3-point and really had things going strong. And State just kept hitting. They let a 15-point lead go, then let a 16-point lead go, but were able to push towards the end and finish it off, which was great at the end. So, so which team do we have? I think State is a young team, like a lot of the teams seem to be in the ACC. So you're going to have some games like that, hot or cold. And last night it was hot, which was great. They get to play Duke and Cameron on Saturday. I'm not looking forward to that, really. I think it's going to be a tough one.
Is Kay going to be back for that game?
I think he should. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with his health. So they just said COVID related. So
that's what I'm wondering. I mean, they say it's non-COVID. So,
be flu.
What are we dealing with here? Is it something serious?
My guess he'll be back. My guess is they'll probably don't have to have him back. They did pretty well without him against Wake Forest, and performed. So, they're still, a solid team without him. That's for sure. So I am going to be really interested to see how Quavion Smith does in Cameron. That guy's not scared of anything. I mean, to a fault. I mean, he'll shoot 4 elbow. I mean, he might have 4 air balls in a row, and he is not going to back off his shot. So, but he was drilling it from everywhere last night. I mean, super impressed. What I also really loved is Sebron, was really distributing the ball. They were really kind of, you could tell Louisville was going to stop Sebron from driving. Then he just dished, and they hit the outside shots, and it really made a real difference last night. So a needed win, a much needed win for the Pack. They got it. Another road game, which is great. So I think State's pretty much where they're going to be most of the season, right there in the middle. And I don't think they're going to go much further up, and hopefully they don't go much further down.
Yeah, but Billy, and we're going to talk about Louisville in a minute. State beats Louisville on the road by 16. I mean, we're talking about is State going to go up? I don't think you can really tell right now. I mean, we're getting into the ACC schedule, and it's so up and down, just like we talked about with that text. This year is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't care what everybody says. There's not that big a gap from Duke to the rest of the ACC.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But you don't know what will happen with a team like State. I mean, what they're ranked.
I agree.
Power rankings, they're at number 10. Look at these teams. When we talk about these teams in front, especially the next 3 or 4,
it could move.
Or even 5. I mean, you beat Louisville. You beat Louisville. They can move up. I mean, there's a lot of season to go. We still don't know really who's the cream of the crop yet. I mean,
I'll be realistic. State played as well as they could play last night. That's
Well, I
pretty.
mean,
That's probably as well as they're going to play, but it worked, and
and a
they were able
young
to get through.
team, they're a young team,
Yep.
and getting them. And when you're a young team, and you go into what is supposed to be a better team than your place, and beat them on the road, and beat them convincingly, that, I mean, what's that going to do for State's confidence?
Well, it's definitely going to boost it. I mean, this guy's celebrating in the locker room. You know, that's where I go back on Keats and listen. I know a lot of people out there. I get it, you know, and I found it several times this season. I've got some real questions on his moves, particularly, you know, he's just committed to Cam Hayes. He's got him coming off the bench now, but he's committed to Cam Hayes. I don't know why, you know, but he is. And, you know, not going to zone. He's stubborn. He doesn't seem to want to change or adjust. At the end of the day, that team believes in him, and they play hard for him every game. You know, you can tell that in the locker room after the games, and they're putting out, and they haven't got blown. No, I say this now, it might be changing. So far, every game's been close. Now it might change that this weekend, but we'll see. But would I be shocked if they beat Duke? No, I wouldn't. If they shoot out of their mind and play as well as they did, and play with confidence, they can play with Duke. Now I'd be surprised, but I'm not shocked.
Big thing for State, as young as they are, is the Cameron intimidation factor.
Right.
If you could get past that, then you've won. That's one part of the game you've won. Because when a lot of young teams, when they step foot on that floor and they look at the Cameron Crazies, they've already lost. They get. I mean, I call it the deer in the headlights look.
It is, you know, and it's funny you bring that up because I had an opportunity to go to a lot of games with Cameron, you know, growing up, and it's an amazing place. But I'm telling you, it's a place you want to play. I don't care if you're the opposing team, you want to play in that place. And we're talking about elite athletes going in. I don't know why they're intimidated. You know, maybe it's because I haven't put my feet on that floor, and I get maybe it's a completely different situation, but you know, you're an elite athlete. What a great opportunity to shine. You know, one thing we didn't touch base on, but yet about Georgia Tech, and I totally forget which player it was, but I know a player at Georgia Tech, you know, pointed at Krzyzewski during the game. I know that made some headlines.
I remember,
they were making a bit of a run. Krzyzewski calls timeout. He was behind pointing at Krzyzewski. That's a player who wasn't intimidated by Cameron. And you know, not the right thing to do.
But
you know,
no, that just got the Duke team fired up. That backfired.
Yeah. Oh, that
get the Duke team fired up and ready to play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Don't do that. Now,
they'll start slapping. Every one of them will start slapping the floor again.
Well, I guarantee he's not going to be intimidated. So I think some of the others might be, but yeah, it's interesting. Everybody performs at a different way, right? Who rises to the moment? You know, there's some athletes who always seem to play their best in the championship games. And then when they play somebody who's not up to that, they just don't really, they play up to the caliber of their opponent. So we'll see if someone's going to step up and rise up and, you know, really kind of, you know, make a name for themselves for this game this weekend. But we'll see. It'll be fun. All right. I'll be watching. You know, either way, I'll be watching. So after that, you got Florida State. Florida State, listen, I watched that Florida State Miami game. Miami got screwed. I mean, screwed on that game. It's a great basketball game, up and down. You know, Miami hits a shot, goes up. You know, they go down. You know, Florida State goes up. Miami hits a three to go up. You know, with like I think it was like maybe 7 or 8 seconds to go, enough time to drive down court. And then you got Florida State pushes down, drives the lane, puts up a shot, and a foul's called. I'm telling you, you know, it was not much of anything. And to make a call like that as the time's going off, to let somebody go shoot 2 free throws to win the game, good for him to knock him down. High pressure situation. He drilled him. Good for him. But man, what a crappy call. A typical ACC bull crap ref call, you know, on something like that. I hated it for Miami. It just didn't sit well with me.
You know, if I'm a referee in that situation, unless there's blood drawn, I'm probably not going to call a foul.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even close to being a It just, I hate to see it. It was too good of a game to end like that. And I know Florida State was pretty pumped. And listen, Florida State played well. They did, and they got the win. And Miami played well. And it was fun to watch. But Florida State, we talked about last year. Last year they were a dominant team. At this point of the season last year, you and I talked. I was like, nobody's beating these guys. They're like an NBA team out there. And then they start losing some games. But they got their wins over Louisville, Miami. It's still definitely time for them to kind of make a push. So we'll see where they go. It's going to be interesting. But they definitely stole one, I thought, against Miami.
Definitely.
So Clemson is sitting kind of number 8. Clemson's also, we talked about Clemson, quite a bit, but took care of State. State played terrible this weekend, but they got a road win against State. They are, I think they got a Notre Dame game coming up shortly. That's going to tell you a lot, because I know they're still not out of kind of the conversation, but I just don't see it. I don't think Clemson's going to make a real push towards the top. I think they're going to linger around this number 8 to 9 position most of the season. I could be wrong, obviously, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, but look at this pattern when we're talking about this team. Any of these teams, especially right here, State has a crappy game against Clemson at home, loses. Then go on the road to Louisville, plays their butt off, wins. Is that not a pattern we're seeing in the ACC?
It is. You're absolutely.
I don't know if
it's other
competition. Yeah, it's a lot of teams. Look at Carolina. Carolina steamrolls Virginia, but lost to Notre Dame. And nothing against Notre Dame, but you figure Carolina, if they steamroll Virginia, they should beat Notre Dame. But it's so up and down this year. It's a crazy year for every team.
Hey, listen, if you want to do some, I know online sports betting's up now, so I've been tempted a few times, but I'm like, there's no way I'm putting any money on an ACC basketball game because it is too crazy. You just don't know what's going to happen. So you're right. It's unpredictable. So at 7, which, Virginia's been one of those teams too, like you're just talking about, a little hot, a little cold, but they've righted the ship. Listen, they got smacked by Carolina. They did. There's no way around that. Well, then went and beat Virginia Tech. It was a home game for Virginia, but that was a good win. I think also the Wake Forest win as well is a good win for them. So,
Wake Forest.
It's Virginia.
You gotta watch out for Wake Forest.
Well, do count on them pretty well, but I think that's going to happen. Wake Forest is a good basketball team, so they're going to definitely get their wins. They were doing fine against Duke. Got hot. They got rolling. So they ran into a hot Duke team, which was kind of tough for them. So, Notre Dame, you mentioned Notre Dame, but listen, we brought up Notre Dame when we had our conversation it's pushing 3 weeks ago when we had our last podcast on, where everyone stood. And we were kind of hard on Notre Dame because they weren't looking too hot, definitely with the non-conference games. Listen, they're turning around. They beat Kentucky. You go, hey, that's a great win. Is that just kind of a fluke? They beat Carolina. That's a great win. They're winning games, and they're legitimately going to be, I think, in that top tier of the ACC this year. One of the big things we talked about is they had some older guys now. They're at the time they're supposed to peak, and they also have a hell of a freshman on their team, maybe the best freshman in the ACC. So they've got one young guy.
You better not say that, Billy.
What? Look,
the Duke. You're gonna have the Dukies after you, bud.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, he's going to have a payday. He's going to be a great NBA player, but who's producing right now? Yeah, I'll let that
go. No.
So yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, I think, is legit. I think they're going to be legit. So watch them. They're clicking.
Yeah, I agree with you. 5 games in a row.
I mean, you can't argue with that, right? You can't argue with the wins. So I think we were a little early with our, I don't know, Notre Dame's not looking great. Although I think we both did say we wouldn't be surprised to see them turning around.
Yeah. I mean, you look at your coach. I mean, Bray is
Bray's
a good
great.
coach. Yeah, he's a good coach. And
Although
I
you
mean,
were
if
talking
anybody
up
can
his
turn it
seat
around, I
being
think he
warm.
could.
I don't think it's as warm as you thought it was on our last
Well,
podcast.
I mean, if let me just say this: if things start going the other direction, I still think his seat will be warm. I think he's really got to do something this year. I mean,
You were right about the record of the last several years, and
yeah, I mean, he's really got to prove himself, and I hate to say that because he's a veteran coach, but I think he really has got to prove himself and he's got to make a little bit of a run in the tournament. First of all, he's got to get to the tournament. Then he's got to
they're
make
making a pretty darn good
in the
run now.
tournament.
So if they keep this up,
I'm talking about the NCAA.
yeah, no, I know. If he keeps this up, I think they should be, right in that conversation. If they're not, that leads going to lead to our additional conversation today and kind of talking about where's ACC stand. That would be a testament to the ACC not being very strong if they don't make the tournament. So getting into our last 5 teams, which is kind of really the sweet spot of the conference. Wake Forest, listen, who thought Wake Forest being in the top tier? I didn't. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't see Wake Forest being in the top tier of the conference this year. They got some great transfers.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but they proved me wrong.
So far, last night it was again ran in a buzzsaw with Duke, and Duke took care of business. But that's going to happen. They're going to get their wins. They're going to get their wins, and I've been impressed with them so far. They've been coming through. Now, again, like I said about some other teams, also wouldn't be surprised to see it start going the other direction. They have had a pretty weak stretch of games. They haven't had a lot of tough games on the schedule. They really haven't. I mean, what's their biggest win? Kind of looking through this. I don't know what would be considered their, most signature win at this point, but they don't really have.
I mean, there's really not a signature win up there yet. I mean, last night that would have been, of course, the right. Signature win. But I'm like you. They've got to beat some of these teams ahead of them too right now. I mean, I know they're ranked 5th, and they've got to hold this second pack off behind them. I mean, the Notre Dames, Virginia's, the Clemson's, but
it's early. They can, they're in a good position now. So, it's going to be real interesting to watch kind of where they end up falling through the whole process. So, kind of takes us to Louisville. We were just talking about Louisville. Yeah, I think they're going to drop off the power ranking some.
They have to.
Yeah, have to. So the power ranking that I'm looking at, I think it came out on Monday. So one of the big headlines there was they cannot lose to State, coming up this week. And they lost to State. And they've got Pitt. Yep, and they got Pitt coming up. So they better be Pitt.
Yeah, if they lose to Pitt, they'll probably be out of the top 10.
Oh, I think they'll start falling real quick. So we'll see. Louisville's also one of those teams. Great defense. The offense has been hot and cold. I've seen the offense hot. I mean, geez, they beat State with a last-second shot. Great shot. Early in the season, but when they're not hitting, I saw portions of Louisville where they look unstoppable, and then they just go completely cold. Real similar to State, I think, in that way. But we'll see. Again on that one, it's I don't know. Verdict's out.
Way too early right now for Louisville.
It's way too early. Yeah, but I think they might fall a bit further.
Just remember how Louisville was last year. They were one of these teams that looked unstoppable, and then they end up slumping and don't even make the NCAA tournament.
Right. They were pretty much as a given.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not happened. So
I think that 45 or 40-point loss to Carolina really did them in.
That'll take the win out of yourselves real quick. I know. So sitting at 3 is Carolina. And Carolina is really in position to maybe move in that number 2 where Miami is. But right now they're at number 3. Listen, I think any Carolina fans got to be pretty, pleased with Hubert's performance so far as a coach. I think he's doing a great job.
You would think that, Billy,
Or is it
But
still people
oh
complaining?
my gosh, there are people.
Okay.
There's you sit there and watch. And granted, Carolina's been spoiled with Dean Smith, with with Roy Williams, and it just. But what these people that are these keyboard warriors
Every
that are up
school's
here
got them, right?
have
Every school.
got to realize is Dean Smith was burned in effigy early in his career. That was how bad it was.
Yeah.
And Hubert is not even that bad. But every time they lose, the same. I think these guys have a patterned or have a copied comment ready to go. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's do this. I mean, really?
It's the same again. I think every school's got them, right? I'm sure. Well, maybe not Duke. I don't know. They
I
they're
mean,
super loyal to
they
they can do no wrong. But regardless of what they're saying, his record stands. His team's playing hard for him. I see improvements. I mean, you see
Yeah.
coaching moves and changes where their defense was weak. He's tightening the defense up. He's coaching them up. I mean, you can tell
Yeah.
that's happening.
Oh yeah,
So-
I mean, you think about when the game where they gave up 80 and 90, two
Yeah.
games back to back, and everybody was saying, well, and he's like you said,
Tighten that up real quick.
he has tightened that up.
Absolutely.
I mean, but
So I think he's doing a great job. Listen, okay, fine. You might have some people might not be pleased, but they're still sitting at what 3-1 ACC, 11-4 overall. They're in a good position. They're in a really good position, and I think they'll improve. I think they'll keep getting better.
yeah, they are. They are. And I mean, do I think they're national title contenders? No, I don't think that. Not right now. They've got some work to do, but they're headed in the right direction. I think.
Now, with that said, Steve, I mean, you do have to look at this. Look at the talent they have on that floor. They're loaded. I mean, they're loaded. And it's not young players necessarily. I mean, he's got some seasoned guys out there.
But what Love's a sophomore.
Baycott,
Was he a junior?
he feels like he's been there forever. But yeah, he's at least a junior.
Yeah, I mean, but let me ask you this though: when you look at and this is, I'm thinking about this with every team in the ACC right now.
Yeah.
And everybody will say, "Oh, he's going back to the old days again." I'm going back to the old days. You had 5 guys on that floor with most of these teams that at any moment, one of those 5 could take over the game.
Right.
That was how loaded the ACC was back in the 80s. Now, do you really feel like they're that way?
No, I think most teams are seeing definitely not. And, I think a lot of teams are seeing you probably have 2 players that can do that.
Yeah.
The ones that have 3 are the ones who are really taking off.
Yeah.
So you've got to have those 3 legs to the stool, right? And I think a lot of teams maybe have 2, but they don't have 3. So I agree with you.
I mean, you look, since we've got this internet, I was going on YouTube a couple of days ago, and one of the things that suggested for me was Carolina and Georgetown in the national championship game. I mean, you look at that starting 5: Worthy, Jordan, Perkins, Doherty, and Jimmy Black. I mean, the Jimmy Black is like the one that you don't think is going to score, but he's going to play defense out of his butt.
Yeah.
But you look at that. That's 4 guys right there. That I mean, even Doherty. I put Doherty, but three right there that can score, take over the game anytime they want to.
No, you're right.
Not like that anymore.
But why not? I don't know. I mean, kind of to I give Davis all the credit, but I'm also going to say, listen, he is loaded with talent. Carolina's loaded with talent every year.
Okay, who's got a better recruiting class?
Duke probably has better recruiting class.
What are they ranked in the nation right now?
I don't know, top
8.
8. I mean, yeah.
Who's their coach?
What's that guy's name? I think it's like a long name, but a K.
Grizuki.
That Krzyzewski guy.
Yeah. So, if and how many national championships has he won here lately?
So you can't compare.
Oh,
You
listen
said
to
who's
me.
got the best. Carolina's got a pretty solid.
Hold on.
Where's Carolina's class
hold
ranked
on.
in the national recruiting class?
Where was, let's see, Zion Williamson? That name ring a bell? And who was the guy with him? RJ Barrett? Was he there too?
I think you had a
Can
couple
you hear
guys
me?
in Carolina that left pretty early too.
Just listen to me. Just listen
All
to
right.
me. When Duke had the 2 top recruits in the nation, and who knows what they're loaded every
Yeah.
year. How many national championships has that brought him here lately?
No, I agree. Listen, if we can have that argument, listen, it's pretty open common knowledge. I used to be a pretty hardcore Duke fan, and the Duke fans I like were the days of, the Danny Ferries, the Quinn Snyder, those guys, and even watching how they played, it was different. They had some great players, but they play as a cohesive team. You don't see that as much anymore. So yes, going to the ones and dones, I hate it. But
as far as talent wise goes, Billy, get the talent in there, the recruiting, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but you might disagree with me. That what used to be Carolina is now Duke.
Yeah, probably. I would agree.
How many McDonald's?
But Carolina's a close second.
Well, I mean,
they're a damn close second. They're right there. So
it's
not
like
it
it used
rings
to be.
a little hollow when from the Carolina. I'm like, you guys are loaded. You should be up there. You're getting the best players in the country.
We have had teams over the years that, no doubt in my mind, no way they should not have won a national championship, and they didn't. But that's what any given day, bud.
It is. You can take the best players in the country and put them together. If they don't gel, it's not going to work. And you can take 5 random dudes and put them together and coach them up, and they may just turn out to be the best team in the country. And that's what's fun about this, right?
One of the most disappointing Carolina teams was the year after, what was it, 93 when they won the national championship? The year after, when Stackhouse and Wallace and McGinnis came in, there was too much talent on that team.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've ever criticized Dean Smith's coaching style. You don't leave 5 guys in there long enough to get in a rhythm with each other.
Great.
There's no chemistry. There was no chemistry on that team.
No.
They got by with talent. They won the ACC tournament. They got by that with talent. But if they had some chemistry and had a set 5 starting lineup and leave them in there for more than like 5 minutes at a time, who knows what would happen. That's the only time you will ever see me criticize Dean Smith about his coaching strategy.
Well, and like I said, talent doesn't always win it, but it's nice to have, right? But Davis is doing well what he's got, and those guys are, listen, Baycott hasn't lived up to expectation until now. But he's clicking now. So and that's what's important. So he seems to be getting to where his potential, everybody kind of thought he would be, is starting to come around. And that's coaching, right?
Well, I mean,
a lot of that
it's a little bit of both. It's coaching and talent.
Maturity.
You have
maybe
to
stay long enough now, he's learning, turn that corner.
And hopefully that'll be a sign to some of these other guys out there. The longer you stay there, the better a player you become. The better team you're going to have.
It's frustrating. It is. So that goes to number 2, Miami. Listen, hey, Miami's been a surprise. Now, the 2 of us sat up here 3 weeks ago and said Larrañaga's seat is super warm. Not warm. I think we said it was hot. Hot. He's going to retire. He's done. He's old. He's going to retire. He's done. I think maybe we spoke too soon.
I think he heard us.
I eat my words. Listen, I always said he was a great coach, and he is. I think the guy's a great coach.
Oh yeah,
dude, he is. Listen, Stevie, they played State. And I know I go a lot of State references because I watched it a lot. But when they played State and beat State at Miami, State was right there. I mean, that would have been a huge win for State. We had them from tip off. Larrañaga just was so invested in that game, the energy level, the excitement, the intensity. He's in. He's all in. You don't see any age on that guy, and he stayed that way until the final shot of the game. And it wasn't just a state game. He's not invested in every game. I just am super impressed with the guy. He's still got some. He's got some gas in the tank. I think I spoke too soon. That needle was not on empty. He's got some gas in there, and he's got these guys playing great. Now, how long they can keep it up, I don't know, but they look good right now. And again, they got screwed against Florida State.
They should be on a 10-game winning streak right now.
They should.
But, and everything gets elevated with that win over Duke, though.
It does.
You do that.
Listen,
and for good reason.
I'm the guy who I'm a jerk because I was watching the first half and completely just like, this is going to get out of hand. I think Miami got down by like 8 or 9. I was like, this is not good. And then turned back, realized they won the game. I was like, I stopped on them too soon. So that says a lot, go in a place like that and get down and come back and win. And I was pretty impressed.
Like you said, when they get down to a team like a Duke, a lot of teams, when you get down 8 or 9 points, a team like Duke, well, it's over.
It's over. Yeah.
It's over. Duke's not going to let us back in this game. But what is it like Rocky said? It's not how hard you get hit, it's how you get up after you've been hit, something like that. I may have butchered that, but
the points made. I agree. Once you get up, the opponent knows that.
A good team.
You take the best punch and you get up, and then they go, oh crap! Like, okay, that was the best we could throw at you. You just got up.
Yeah,
maybe did that. Good for them. So now how they ride that, I don't know. But right now they're 13-4 and 5-1 in the ACC. So and beat Duke at Cameron. The unbeatable Duke apparently to everybody. Went down. So who's now 2-1 and 12-2. So which puts us on Duke. Listen, everyone's high on Duke, and I don't blame them. Duke's a good basketball team, but you said it earlier. Duke's going to lose some games in the ACC. They're going to lose some games in the ACC. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I look back at this and say, "Oh, that one Miami game," but they're not that dominant. And maybe they'll be Saturday against State, but I don't think they're that dominant.
They're not runaway champions of the ACC like everybody wanted them to be at the start of the year. I know this is Coach K's for last year, but I'm sorry, folks. This is not going to be a dominant year for Duke as far as it's not that big of a gap between them and the rest of that pack. I'm telling you.
I agree.
I'm not seeing when I watch Duke play, I'm not saying, oh wow, these guys are gonna be tough to beat. I'm not seeing that. And actually,
I'm not seeing that with any team in the ACC this year. To be honest.
No, it's definitely not.
But nobody else has been made out to, be like they're basically saying, well, Duke's the only good team. I mean, they are the only ranked team in the ACC right now, I believe. So, which is crazy. I think that's kind of where we stand at this point. But they got the target on their back. Let's see how they carry it. Shire did a great job. You mentioned Shesky was out in the Wake Forest game. I mean, dude, I was like talking about being nervous. Listen, you've been given the job, you're getting the job, and your first time coaching the team. What if he'd went in there and Wake Forest whooped Duke? Now things aren't looking real good.
the keyboard warriors would have come.
It would have been going. But
it would have been
bad.
What? It would have been bad.
They played hard. They played hard for Shire. They played probably hard for Krzyzewski. They wanted to get the coach to win, and Duke rebounded. So Wendell Moore, you saw him produce more. Some of the stuff you haven't seen from Duke, it was clicking. They made a few changes, with the lineup, which was interesting. So credit to them. They lose a game to Miami, and they came out and punched back. So I know you don't like to give any credit to Duke, but I'm giving it to them.
I give credit where credit's due.
They played a great game. They came back and played a really good game. And listen, Wake Forest is not an easy place to play. It's not.
Do you think that they played a little bit harder for Shire because of that situation? Because some of those guys are going to be on that team next year, and they're like, okay, this is going to be our coach next year. We need to, you know,
Honestly, no. I mean, actually, it's funny. I was watching a podcast earlier today, and I think they're talking to Moore, and he was. Somebody asked, like, "Hey, well, what? I mean, what do you guys think with Krzyzewski being? How did you know? Did that change your reaction?" And they were like, I mean, it was kind of last minute they found out. I'm like, well, no. I mean, these are the coaches, and you got to think most of these guys are the ones who really coach them day to day anyway. Krzyzewski's there, but he did definitely say they really wanted to win one for Coach K, and I think that was important to them. So, no, I think they just wanted to. If anything, I think it was maybe more for K than Shire, but it's got to be something there, and they did. They stepped at the plate.
I mean, I think I honestly think they played a little bit harder in that game for Shire.
Good.
The
pressure was on.
Not saying they don't play hard for K,
right?
But with that situation and with him having a job next year, I'm like, we can't lose this game.
Listen, I guarantee you, Shire went home with a sigh of relief of, damn,
woo,
nerve-wracking. But they came through, and they I'll give Duke. That was a good, solid win for them. And Wake Forest of old last night for proud. I want to throw definitely some, love their way. That place was rocking in Winston-Salem. It was. I mean, they were Wake Forest of old. They didn't get the win, but you see glimmers of them coming back to what they were. So I know they're super excited in Winston-Salem, and they should be. Couldn't get the win, but keep the energy level up, and they'll get it. So it was a fun one to watch. So right now, ACC is somewhat of a mess. I wouldn't say it's a dumpster fire by any means, but it's weak.
I wouldn't call it that.
No, some might compared to, thinking we have one team ranked in the ACC is a little crazy. So what I wanted to kind of dive into, there was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago, actually last week. It really kind of piqued my curiosity, and it really triggered a reaction because it was, ranking the conferences, and, it mentioned ACC, taking a fall and dropping to being the 6th best conference in the country. And my first reaction is, no way is the ACC the 6th best conference in the country. There's no way. But then as I dig through the article and start looking at the teams, I'm going, actually, this is probably justified. And that took me to my next question was, what the heck is going on? Why are we going backwards? Why is it not? And this has been going on for several years. It really has. Yes, you got your Dukes, you got your Carolinas. You're going to have maybe one or two more that jump in there occasionally. But right now, having one team ranked. So, think about it. Because, kind of recent article I just saw that came out through CBS was, so AP Top 25 is out right now. And out of that, again, you have one team from the ACC that's in it. So one thing that kind of stands out, tied the fewest among all leagues said to be inside the Major 7 conference in all basketball teams in the top 25. So out of all the major conferences, the ACC has the least amount of top 25 teams. What's going on, Stevie? What's happening?
I think me and you talked about this a little bit the other night. The ACC has not been the same since the addition, and I'm not talking about Florida State. I'm talking about the Syracuses, the Louisvilles, the Pitts. I mean, you've got 15 teams in the ACC. And I think it's too much. To me, it's been too much. I think I'd rather go back to the ACC old. I'd even keep Florida State in there, but it's so up and down. I mean, these might not be bad teams, but any given night, and I know every conference is like that, but and the ACC has lost that aura that it had, especially in the 80s and the mid up into the 90s. That the ACC used to have, I mean, back in the 80s, again, I'm throwing out that reference, but it's with good reason. There was no surprise to have 6 teams out of the ACC in the top 25. And this was when the ACC had, 9 or 10 teams.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, you look at it, State would be in the top 25, Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech, Maryland. Who am I leaving out? Clemson. Clemson had teams in the top 25. I mean, back in that time, but everything has a pattern. I'll say it like this: everything has a pattern, and eventually, the ACC is probably down on their luck right now, and I think it's a lot. You look at what's going on with the ACC. Who, and I don't even know this stat, but who has the most one and dones out of the country in the country? What conference do you think?
I definitely don't think
Guarantee
it's ACC.
ACC is probably in the top 3. Do what?
I'd be really curious to look at that stat. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's anything more.
You
anything
think
different.
about that, and I mean, and now with the transfer portal, and I know every team is dealing with this, but where you have guys sitting behind a starting 5, like you talked about, Carolina used to be loaded, and Carolina used to be loaded, where they'd have guys coming off the bench that were just as good as guys. And Duke was the same way. State had guys like that too. These transfer portal guys, we don't play, we get out of here. And I don't have a good explanation for why the ACC is like that. I think a lot of it, like the SEC is catching up. It's caught up. Yeah, definitely caught up. And
They caught up. They
a lot of these conferences. Yeah, but
well, it goes a couple things you said. I don't know. So look at we mentioned the transfer portal, right? And one thing we talked about our last podcast is look how much talent ACC got out of the transfer portal. A lot. Notre Dame got to go, everybody. So, we actually picked up talent from other conferences. We talk about Oklahoma players leaving like something's going on. I know what's up over there, but ACC actually picked up some of the better talent for transfers coming in. So actually ACC benefited on that one. I know we had some players leave, but we also picked up a lot. So I don't think it was it. I definitely go back, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't, it's not logical, but I'm with you on everything seemed to turn, right? When the conference got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I understand it has to, because that's what conferences have done. They've become super conferences. It's what it was. But, our name is our name for a reason with our podcast. It's Tobacco Road Weekly. Now, you've got to be old school ACC to understand Tobacco Road. And Tobacco Road's definitely what the ACC used to be. It's not that anymore. And it's not going to go back to that anymore. But the days of watching the conference tournament, when, you were able to see, it takes what now, like 4 days to get the games, or, you got buys and you got double buys. And, back then everybody played. Maybe you got to buy for one game, but that's it. You didn't get to miss 3 games. It's nuts. And then not getting to play, the teams and the rotations that they want is, because right now I don't think every team's playing each other 2 games. They're not, I'm sure. So, you don't get that full connection of who's playing who. It's not a clear picture of the way it shakes out. But, and then what really doesn't make sense about this, the teams we added are good basketball schools, man. It's like we had a Syracuse who, in there who did, had a national championship, in 2003 maybe. So not that long ago. You've got, Pitt's not bad. They were really strong, basketball team back where Jamie Dixon was over there coaching these guys. Obviously Louisville, great basketball school. Notre Dame's had a solid basketball. No school came into the ACC, as a bad basketball team. We don't have any teams that came in as bringing the conference down as talent-wise. But what happened? It just doesn't make sense. It's not what it was. It's not, yes. Stevie, you and I are North Carolina guys. We grew up in North Carolina. We are used to the old school ACC. I remember when Florida State came in, I'm still not, I still don't consider Florida State ACC. That's how hardcore I am. But that changed everything. And then Maryland leaves. Listen, I'm up here in DC. I despise Maryland in so many ways, but it was such a great team to have in the ACC. And I think they'd love to be back in the ACC. When I'm looking at national championships, you see Maryland, that was ACC, national championship you see there. So,
Yeah.
Gosh, we lose Maryland, we pick up these teams, it's craziness. And at the end of the day, this isn't new. This isn't an anomaly this year. This has been going this way for the last several years. And now it's pretty clear. One thing that really stood out, so, kind of going by that article I was looking at, it broke down the conferences, and this really what kind of blew me away. And it was an eye-opener. It really was. Because, again, my first thought is, no way ACC is 6. Big 12 is ranked number 1 right now. And you go, Big 12? Who the hell's even in Big 12, right? Well, yeah, Baylor, Kansas, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Texas, their record versus non-conference playing team, 7-6. Not great, but not bad. Big wins. They've got big wins at other schools. Baylor over Michigan State. It's more and more there. But I just named you teams. Right now, Baylor's ranked number 1 in the country?
Yeah.
Kansas 9, Ohio State 15, Texas Tech 19, Texas 21. That's legit, right? I'm not going to argue Big 12's not number 1 conference. So
that's just like the old ACC right there, but
it sounds like the old ACC. You're absolutely right, Stevie. That's exactly what it sounds like. And then you get into the Big 10. Okay, yeah, you had a couple of powerhouses. Obviously, Michigan State, has always been a big player, but up and coming. I mean, Purdue was number 1, sitting at number 7 now.
Was number 1, yeah.
Yeah, Dodge wins against State, but it's got the win. But you got Michigan State sitting at number 10, Wisconsin 13, Ohio State 16, Illinois 25. That's a pretty good record. Non-conference 7-7.
Can I just say one thing right here?
Please.
One of these conferences need to change their name. I mean, I'm sorry, Big 12, Big 10. Somebody needs to come up with another.
Not a lot of creativity, is it? And then I don't even think that's a number.
No, not a lot of creativity. Oh, we got 2 more. We can call ourselves the Big 12.
We can really
the bigger 12 or something.
You talk to a marketing firm and really spice this up a little bit. So,
geez.
But they've got big wins too. So, no, I'm not arguing that Big 10 shouldn't be number 2. Yeah, it makes sense to me. So let's keep going, right? Well, who would be 3? The SEC, the football conference, is number 3. Well, yeah, they are. Like Auburn, LSU, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, all the football schools. Now, obviously, Kentucky has always been that basketball school, right? But outside Kentucky and SEC, Tennessee sometimes, but these other schools are football schools. What happened? So now they're winning national championships.
Now, LSU has had some good basketball teams in the past, and Auburn has too. I'll give them that.
But they've been more of a anomaly.
It's been more of a football school.
Yeah. It's happened. Arkansas, occasionally, but I know they kind of dipped a little bit. But that's a surprise, right? I mean, we named those schools 10 years ago, maybe 15. It's like, what? I don't. They've become legit powerhouses in basketball, which is frustrating because they already dominate football, right? So, what do you do there? Yeah. And they're non-conference.
Yeah, definitely.
Do what? Yeah, it's definitely frustrating.
You think that recruit some of that recruit money's going over to basketball now?
I don't know, maybe. Before I thought basketball was an afterthought, but not anymore. So their non-conference record is 6-4. Again, not great, but pretty good. So, and they've got a lot of key wins in their conference. All right, so now we're down to number 4, right? All right, ACC got to be like number 4. I mean, geez, we can't be worse than number. No, Big East. The Big East is higher than ACC. And then you go, why and how? And then you go, well, they got Villanova. They got Xavier, Seton Hall, Providence, all ranked 17. Seton Hall's 20, Providence 23. That I'd argue a little bit more, but that's what it is. They're non-conference play. They're 7-10. I know Villanova beat Tennessee. That was a pretty big win. Providence beat Wisconsin and Texas Tech. So Providence is legit of what they're doing. So hard to argue that too, right? Like our best 5 teams in the ACC. No, I can't justify moving them above the Big East at this point either. So now I get down to 5. I'm like, okay, ACC's got to at least be in the top 5. This can't be right. No. Now we're going out to the West Coast. The freaking West Coast. Now, yes, I know they had UCLA who dominated UCLA. Sorry, UCLA who dominated basketball for years in turn. But outside of like UCLA, I mean, you don't think a lot of West Coast teams. Well, they're dominating again. They got UCLA at number 3. They're coming back. You got USC at number 5. Arizona at number 6. Got rid of Miller. They made a real big turn over there. But, you're seeing some change. I don't think they're as deep, but they got some pretty good basketball teams. So would you agree? And I know outside their league play, they're 2-10 against non-conference play. That's not great. And they're still sitting at 5. So I could say, okay, well, maybe that, but I can't believe we're having a discussion about the ACC compared to the Pac-12. I can't believe that's even a conversation, and it is, which is crazy. So finally, we get to number 6, right? Like, all right, finally number 6, ACC. Out of the top 7, ACC 6 at number 6. So right now, the only ranked team is Duke at 8. I think you got a couple of teams right at the cusp. Carolina's probably right there, and maybe 1 or 2 other teams right there, but not in. Record against non-conference play is 4-15. Now that's where the rubber meets the road, right? We can talk all we want about the ACC being better in these conferences, but non-conference play, they're 4-15. And I'd like to say some of those losses were against good teams in other conferences.
Oh yeah,
mid-majors and lower. State got whipped by Wright State and Richmond.
Virginia got beat by
Navy and JMU.
JMU, that was it.
Yes, you had Furman took care of Louisville and almost beat Carolina, I think, or gave Carolina a little bit of money. So, which Furman's actually a pretty good basketball team. But now we're looking at this going, ACC's 4-15 out of the ACC and losing some of the schools they're losing to. It doesn't make any sense. And best wins we have there, like Duke, beat Kentucky. That was great. And Gonzaga. So that really set things up for Duke. Carolina beat Michigan, which was really good. Notre Dame over Kentucky, Syracuse over Indiana. But, really outside of that, it's not a lot there. And, like the article was saying, hey, listen, it's too early to declare the end of the ACC. But it's not good, right? It's not good.
No, it's not good.
The only conference left was number 7, and that's the American Athletic Conference. We beat out the American Athletic Conference, who has 11 seed Houston in it. And that's where we stand. And at the end of the day, I listen. I'm happy to argue anything. I can't argue that. ACC is where it fits. And I was looking at, what is it? I'll butcher this, but the Kimpo, statistics that really kind of puts this thing out. That guy was a Virginia Tech guy who puts the stuff out and still got the ACC ranked where it is. You can't argue some of the numbers that's out there. I just want to know what the hell's going on. And now we're losing. Listen, I know the Krzyzewski thing, but now you're losing a legend, Krzyzewski. You lost a legend in Roy Williams. That's what we had. I'm sure Boeheim's not long to leave, soon. But unless these young coaches come up, who's taking the torch? Who's taking the ACC back? We have to do it all the time. A lot of things we go back to is the 80s, right? And listen, I know we like the 80s and early 90s. We're not young guys, but God, man, we are living in the past, right? Living in the past, man. Like, I just, I want to see the page turn. I want to see things. I mean, the ACC's got to step it up. I figure if anybody knows what they can do, Steve, it's got to be you, right? You got to have a solution for how they're going to solve this.
Well, my question is it recruiting? Because it seems like Duke is getting all these McDonald's All-Americans. Carolina's getting some.
So come on, man. Come on, Steve.
We're not getting near what Duke gets, Billy. You got to admit that.
You're getting near. We'll argue that all day.
The ship has sailed on that.
Then Carolina is really messed up if they're not getting top recruits in the country. Then you got a major problem at Carolina if that's not happening.
Yeah.
A legendary program like Carolina.
I mean, who on that team? Name on the team right now. Baycott, Love. Who?
Where were they ranked coming out of high school? The new players.
No, I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they're not performing. But they were ranked.
Nobody on that team. I mean, Billy, this is not the days of where you got J.R. Reed, you got even like Scott Williams, people like that. Back when he pulled out for Rasheed Wallace and Gary Stackhouse.
But do we have guys like that anymore though? It seems, I mean, are they the top two players? And where are they going? So if they're not here, where are they?
They're not going to ACC. They're going to, obviously, they're going to like the SEC. They're going to, and I don't know if it's the fact that either these ACC schools aren't evaluating talent as well, or if these guys are like, well, I'm not going to that school. I'd rather go here. Let's start something different. Not go to the ACC. Let's start something different. The SEC, Pac-10. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that or why it's happened, but like you said, it's not just like it happened right then. It's been slowly going down, and one and done.
Well, we can't do that. I mean, it's every conference is dealing with that same problem. So you can talk about transfer portal. You can talk about all of that is a common issue across college basketball right now. What is unique to the ACC that's causing this problem? I mean, I guess how big are most of these conferences? Is the ACC the biggest conference at 15? I mean, is it? I don't know.
Well, Big 10, Big 12. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Maybe
got to be the biggest conference.
I don't know.
Maybe they got too big for their britches. We're trying to have all these teams in there.
Well, you know what? What's a really interesting thing, Steve? And maybe they really didn't. Maybe they did with Clemson, but a lot of that changes bringing these schools in was to improve football, and they wanted to get bigger and try to get to improve some of the football we were doing in the ACC because it's pretty weak in football. Clemson's done well. Florida State hasn't really, but other than that, nobody's really improved, and we've just got weaker in basketball. So, that didn't really work out. So at some point, it's really got to be addressed. And I was thinking to myself, Stevie, if we only had a legendary player from maybe the 80s who we could bring on the show and ask that question, that would be, and get that answer, that would be pretty awesome if we could do that. So
maybe we could find out what's really going on in the ACC if we had somebody that was in one of the most iconic plays in NCAA history, much less sports history or NCAA history. Maybe if we had somebody like that on the show, who do you think?
I know a guy like that. Derek Wittenberg would really fit that mold. I think of a guy who would probably have that answer.
That's who I was thinking.
I think
Maybe we should give him a call.
I think we should get him on the show. What do you think?
Yeah, I
See if
think
he can solve this question for us.
yeah, I think he would be the one to be able to tell us what the real problem is. And, I think we should give him a call. You give him a call and see
I'll
what
give him
he's
a
up
call
to.
and I'll see if I can get old Mr. Derek Wittenberg on this show here very soon, and we'll put this question out to him and see if he can come up with an answer. Anybody can. If anybody can, I think it would be Derek Wittenberg, because he's coached all over the country. He
I'm
knows
sure.
up and down, and he is
Yeah.
not shy with his opinion. And I love that.
No, and I'm sure he'll put it right out there for you, and he's not going to sugarcoat it for you.
I'll work on that, Stevie, between now and our next podcast. See what we can do to make that happen. So, because you and I are not going to solve it. You'll hear a lot of complaining about us, but it is baffling. I mean, it really is. Listen, we're guys in our, our younger years. We watched ACC at its prime and at its best. And I know it's been a long, long time since State was there, but they had their years. Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, all those old school strong teams. Georgia Tech, Bobby Cremins you were talking about, and God, I miss that, man. I really do. And we're seeing some good basketball in the ACC, but it's not the best in the country, and that's what it should be. It's not. So, and what that's going to lead to, which is going to be a really crazy thing this year, we're really having a real conversation of maybe getting 4 teams in the tournament this year, maybe 5. That's insane.
Maybe.
Usually is.
Maybe.
I'm usually thinking 9, but they're no key win. When you've got one team ranked in the conference this year, where are you going to be your signature wins? I mean, in the day when you had 6, 7, 8 ranked teams in your conference, you could build your resume pretty well. You just don't have that anymore. And then their non-conference, they didn't win the games. So honestly, yeah, I think that's where we're going to fall. And that's kind of nuts to think that we're going to look at some mid-majors who are going to have as many teams in the national tournament, NCAA tournament, as the ACC, and probably justifiable. And that's hard for me to say, but that's kind of where we stand in this situation. And something's got to change. And I don't know. Yeah, listen, I love we got Tony Bennett. I hate he's with Virginia and not State. I like Keats, but I'd sure take Bennett. But maybe we've got some young coaches who are going to turn it around. I don't know, but it's not good.
You think about. And I mean, me and you weren't old enough to really pay a lot of attention to it back then. But you think about the early 80s with people were probably saying the same thing we're saying now, which, the ACC was still a one of the top dogs in the country as far as conference. But other than Dean Smith, think about who you had coming in. You had Valvano coming in. You had Krzyzewski coming in. You had Cremins coming in.
You did.
I mean,
who were these? I mean, these guys were in the late 20s, early 30s.
They were
young dudes.
Young guys. And look what happened. I mean, the ACC was all right. It turned out pretty good for them. So maybe with this situation too, that it'll turn out for I would love to see it turn out like it did back then, but maybe it'll turn out for better than we think.
Well, we're at the point now. Listen, I would pretty much pull against anybody playing Duke or Carolina. And now we're finally at the point I'm pulling for Carolina and Duke because I want the ACC to stay strong. I don't care who we're playing. I'm sticking firm with ACC. It's hard. I know. It's hard.
I can't do it, bud. I can't do it.
I'm trying. I'm trying to be a loyal ACC guy. But listen.
See, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem pulling for NC State. I don't have a problem pulling for any team in the ACC except Duke. I'm sorry. I can't.
Listen, listen, man. This is how bad I have it against Carolina. So tonight, I coach a youth basketball team. I'm not saying 9. So, a bunch of 9-year-old boys. So we're getting our jerseys. So I get a text and it's, hey, you get a choice between 2 blues, Royal Blue and Carolina Blue. And in a panic, I had to pull off the road in a quick panic to make sure I texted back and said, do not give me the Carolina blue. I despise that color. And I will have my North Carolina State status revoked if my team wears that color. And thank goodness the league commissioner had some pity and got me the royal
leave
blue.
this conversation right now. Yeah, let me leave this conversation right now.
Now I say that, but yet I'm wearing
And look,
kind of light blue shirt, but it's not Carolina.
and look, if you look behind me, and let me get this virtual background off. You look behind me, the red and white back here of my team, my alma mater, and who I coach. I don't have a problem wearing the red and white, but you're so set in your ways, you can't. Man, I can't wear it.
And now listen, in my defense, you went to school with that red and white. That was your school color, right?
But you know what? I'll tell you this, Billy. We make red and white look a lot better than NC State.
Oh no! Oh no! Hey, I don't know about that. At least in '83.
See the eagle, buddy. See the eagle.
Hey, listen, I'm all in on the Eagles. All in on the Eagles. So, see, I love it. I went to Northeast was red and white. Went to State was red and white. So, if I couldn't get the red jerseys, but I sure wasn't going to end up with blue.
Hold on. Let's not remember. He doesn't want you to know about that time in his life where he was not red and white. He was that royal blue and white. He was a Dookie through and through.
Listen, I was a strong Duke fan, and I will not apologize for it. I really enjoyed the days of Duke back then and how they played. But I'll tell you what, it all changed. It all changed when I went to State. So I'm all red now, bleed red. So no question. But hey, listen, ACC, I will pull for Duke. I'm gonna pull for the ACC if they're playing other teams, because we've got to turn this conference around. Got to. And hopefully we've got these young coaches coming in to do it. Maybe some answers. I don't know. But something's got to change. I do not want to be looking at this list next year and the year after, looking at ACC sitting at number 6 out of 7 conferences. That something's not right about that. And that needs to change. So, and it's a topic I don't hear talked about as enough
so many
as it probably should be. It needs to be addressed. I don't hear people getting upset the way they should be getting upset. We've got all our inner rivalries and everything within the conference, but we need to be getting upset that the conference is not representing in the way it should be. It's got to step up. This is getting to be embarrassing at this point. We still got some national championship winners in there. But
here's a question for you, Billy. Is the ACC a better football conference or a better basketball conference?
God, that would blow your mind. And if you were to say football, then that tells you a lot right there. Well, let's see. How many national championships have they had in football in the last 5 years?
Look at Clemson.
Well, Virginia had a basketball, so pretty about it. But Virginia, Carolina won how long ago? Basketball.
Was it 17 or 18?
Yeah, it hadn't been that long ago. So
yeah, it hadn't been long ago. But
it hasn't been that long.
The fact that we're even debating that question that I just asked tells you all you need to know right there.
It is. So what I'm going to do, and I hope we can get some traction on this on our Twitter feed and on Facebook. I want to put the question out there. Maybe you're really good with polls and questions, so maybe you can help me figure out we can roll out some kind of something out there to see, rank it or on the conference piece and see where everybody falls and see if kind of all this fits with where everyone thinks we are. Because I think if you talk to most people, they'd be really surprised to feel. I know I was feeling like we were this far down in the polls, in the rankings, and it's justified, which makes it even worse in what we have. So, but for now, I guess what we need to hope, we'll see some good ACC basketball, some good games coming up this weekend. Again, I know I'm just completely focused on the Duke State game. I will sit here and say I know they're going to probably get whipped. but you never know, right? You just never know.
Oh,
And it
you
is
never
something to
know.
ask
That's
about
what I'm
Cameron.
saying. State just needs to forget about they're playing in Cameron Indoor Stadium, forget that whole aura that is Cameron, and just go out there and play basketball. And they'll be okay.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. So what other games we got coming up this weekend? I got to pull up the list. I don't know if you've got it handy. Are there any other good games coming up this weekend?
You got Florida State and Syracuse. That's Saturday. Louisville and
Okay.
Pitt. Wake Forest and Virginia, which should be a
Ah.
good game. And another good game, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech.
Ooh, that will
I'm
be.
bringing up. Yeah, you
Does
got some
Carolina
good
have this
games on
weekend?
Saturday. That's what I'm looking at right now.
They play
Georgia Tech and Carolina
No.
play Saturday night.
I don't think that'll be
And
much of a game.
Boston College and Clemson. Didn't we already play Georgia Tech before?
I don't know.
Am I not right?
It's
Am
possible.
I
We
not
played
wrong
Louisville
about that?
twice
Didn't Carolina
already.
already play Georgia Tech and whip up on them? Yeah, I think they played them and beat them pretty bad. I may be wrong, but
I don't think it's going to be.
yeah, you got that, and I think Sunday. No, there's no Sunday game. Then Monday, Notre Dame and Howard.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
Tuesday, you've got some good games. Carolina takes on Miami, Duke and Florida State, Clemson and Syracuse. And then Wednesday, your boys take on Virginia Tech at PNC Arena.
Ooh,
Virginia and Pitt, Boston College and Louisville, and then Wake Forest and Georgia Tech.
not bad. Some good
So
games.
there's a pretty good week of basketball. There's a Thursday game up here too, in case we do. Oh, North Florida at Florida State, not a big one there.
No.
Carolina, I know next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, Carolina and Wake. That's going and it's going to be a big one there for Carolina.
Where is it? Is it at Wake?
It is at Wake, yeah.
Okay. Tough place to
8
play.
o'clock game.
That'd be a good one. Hey, listen, even the ACC's ranked 6, we still got some good basketball to watch. These guys are playing hard. Listen, what I am seeing is hard. These guys are hustling. I've seen some good basketball games this year, and I think we'll continue to see some good games. And we're turning the corner. Don't count the ACC out yet. I think, you're right. Maybe it's just turning the page, and it's time for a new story to be written. So hopefully that's coming. And
I was right. We beat Georgia Tech already. It was 79-62.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a much.
Kind of early for the second game for you to be
Well, like I
playing
said,
a team twice.
State's already played Louisville twice. So, we've already played team twice and we haven't played other teams yet. I don't know how they do the schedule, but I don't know. It make any sense to me, man. So crazy. They don't ask me about these things. That's probably a good reason.
Yeah, they don't ask me. They don't want to ask me.
Well, all right. Well, let's wrap it up. Stevie, hey, man, great talk. Thanks for helping me try to solve the crazy problems out there with the ACC and try to resolve why where they are. Maybe we're not going to figure it all out one night, but it's fun to have the conversation. And maybe we'll craft something to get it out to everyone. And I'd be curious what we do as a poll and see what people are thinking as far as the top ranked conference and some things like that.
We'll work on that.
Yeah. So,
and
all right, buddy.
Just to show you, I'm not as set in my ways as Billy is. The next episode, Tobacco Road Weekly, I'll be wearing red and white.
So, Stevie, why are we going to be wearing red and white on the next episode?
I mean, I'm just showing you that I'm not so set in my ways that I'm like, oh, I can't wear NC State colors. Now maybe if somebody asked me to wear royal blue, that would be a problem. But
could be. We might have to test you out and get a Duke person on here eventually. But
hey, you never know. You never know who might pop in.
You never know. So there may be a surprise guest coming in on our next podcast. We're hoping.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully Steve is going to be wearing that red and white.
Crossed.
So, Stevie, hey, man, thanks again. Another episode of Tobacco Road Weekly. Guys, thanks for riding with us tonight. We're looking forward to talking to you guys again. Watch some ACC basketball and take care. We're out.
See you guys.